Hello and welcome to Raju Notes channel, your pit stop for weekly current affairs updates. The updates tailor-made for students taking all kinds of competitive exams like UPSC, civils, defense and placement interviews. Please subscribe to the channel and stay updated every Sunday. In hockey, the Indian women's team dethroned Japan to crown themselves Asia's Championship trophy. The hosts beat Japan 4-0 in final in Ranchi this week. India won their maiden Asian Championship trophy title in 2016 in Singapore, while Japan bagged the crown twice in 2013 and 2021. Earlier, Asian Games champions China beat South Korea 2-1 to secure the third place. In recognition of their exceptional performance marked by an undefeated streak throughout the tournament and their title victory, Hockey India announced 3 lakh rupees to each player and 1.5 lakh rupees to each support staff. The United States and China held talks on maritime issues, including on the contested South China Sea this week. US underscored its concerns about dangerous and unlawful Chinese actions in the South China Sea. United States State Department said that talks took place in Beijing between the department's China coordinator Mark Lambert and Chinese Director General of Boundary and Ocean Affairs Hong Leng. The meeting follows recent high-level diplomacy ahead of the expected meeting between US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of mid-November APEC summit in San Francisco. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has approved a proposal for extending the rules for maternity, childcare, and child adoption leave for female soldiers, sailors, and air warriors at par with their officers' counterparts. This will improve the work conditions of women in the military and help them balance professional and family life in a better way, according to a press release. Chile has become the 95th member of the International Solar Alliance (ISA). Chile handed over the instrument of ISA ratification during the meeting of Ambassador Juan Angulo of Chile with the Joint Secretary in Ministry of External Affairs Abhishek Singh in New Delhi this week. The ISA was conceived as a joint effort by India and France to mobilize efforts against climate change through development and deployment of solar energy solutions. It was conceptualized on the sidelines of the 21st Conference of Parties Scope 21 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, held in Paris 2015. With the amendment of its framework agreement in 2020, all member states of the United Nations are now eligible to join the ISA. At present, 116 countries are signatories to the ISA's framework agreement, of which 94 countries have submitted the necessary instrument for ratification to become full members of the ISA. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that his country will have the overall security responsibility over Gaza Strip for an indefinite period of war against Hamas. He said he would consider tactical little pauses in Gaza fighting to facilitate the entry of aid or exit of hostages, but again rejected calls for a general ceasefire. After Rashmika Mandanna's deepfake video went viral, the center last week issued a notice to all the social media platforms, including X, Instagram, Facebook, highlighting sections of the IT Act 2000 and IT intermediary rules. Ministry of Electronics and IT said such cases must be expeditiously actioned against well within the time frameworks stipulated under the IT rules of 2021. The advisory stated that such content may be removed within 36 hours of reporting. The intermediaries were reminded that any failure to act as per the relevant provisions of the IT Act and rules would attract Rule 7 of the IT Rules 2021 and could render the organization liable to losing the protection available under Section 79(1) of the IT Act. It said that cheating by impersonating using computer resources is punishable by a maximum of 3 years of jail and 1 lakh fine. Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa presented his resignation to President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa this week amid allegations of corruption. This comes just hours after the arrest of his chief of staff, Victor Escaria. Investigators are looking into the concessions given to the multiple enterprises such as lithium mining companies. Portugal is Europe's biggest producer of lithium, which is used in electric cars and to power electronic appliances. Mr. Costa will remain in the government until the president's decision. The president has summoned the political parties for consultations. As the war between terrorist group Hamas and Israel hit 1 month mark, 1,400 people have been killed and over 200 taken hostage in Israel. The fighting continues on 8 main fronts in the northern Gaza Strip. Around 600 foreign nationals are on the daily list to leave Gaza for Egypt via the Rafah border. Israel says 70 more aid trucks have crossed into the border of Gaza this week. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that his country will have the overall security responsibility over Gaza Strip for an indefinite period after the war against Hamas is over. The 37th National Games 2023 concluded on November 9th in Goa. The closing ceremony was held at Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Indoor Stadium in Panaji. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar and Indian Olympic Association President P.T. Usha were among the host dignitaries who attended the closing ceremony. The National Games began in Goa on 25th of the last month. Maharashtra continued to dominate the medals tally. Maharashtra has bagged 220 medals, including 75 gold so far. Services Sports Control Board is in second position with 64 gold, while Haryana stands in third position with 58 gold. The fifth India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue started in New Delhi from 10th this week. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin III. The 2+2 enabled a high-level review of the progress made in the cross-cutting aspects of defense and security cooperation, technology, value chain, collaboration, and people-to-people ties. Both sides took stock of the contemporary regional issues and exchanged views about sharing priorities for augmenting cooperation in multilateral forums. This also marks a continuity of ministerial dialogue and reaffirms the India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership. India has lodged an appeal with Qatar regarding the case of 8 ex-Navy personnel who have been arrested in August last year under unclear circumstances and granted death penalty last month. Arindam Bagchi, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson, confirmed the appeal on Thursday, adding that India secured a second consular access and said, "We are in touch with the Qatari authorities." A new island emerged near Japan's Ogasawara Island chain after an undersea volcano erupted last month. Fumes of smoke and ash reaching over 50 meters in height were observed every few minutes during the eruptions, which continued for about 10 days. The so far unnamed island is 100 meters in diameter and was formed by a volcanic eruptions which occur when magma interacts with seawater and produces an explosive burst of steam and ash. Ogasawara Island chain, also known as Bonin Islands, is a volcanic arc comprising more than 30 islands and islets. Some of them are still active. Formation of a new island is a rare phenomenon, with the last record of such volcanic activity in 2013. Japan has most active volcanoes in the world at 111. The United States has said that Israel will commence a 4-hour truce daily in military operations in the selected areas of northern Gaza in order to allow humanitarian aid from United Nations and other agencies to flow into the enclave. The pauses are meant to allow for humanitarian assistance to get into the besieged enclave and allow civilians to flee the fighting zone. Israel would announce the timings of pauses very soon. The Israeli decision for humanitarian pauses followed intense discussions between President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Meanwhile, in a televised interview on Thursday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the war in Gaza will continue until Hamas is defeated. He also made it clear that Israel had no intentions of occupying the blockaded territory. but it did want to see Gaza demilitarized, de radicalized, and rebuilt. The United Kingdom government has tabled a plan to add India to an expanded list of safe states, which would speed up the process of returning Indians who travel from the country illegally and rule out their chances of seeking asylum in Britain. The United Kingdom Home Office said the move is aimed at strengthening the country's immigration system and help prevent abuse by people making unfounded protection claims. The move is in line with the measures to meet British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's pledge to stop the boats of migrants landing on the country's shores illegally after making precarious journey across the English Channel. And now for the segment where we see the events that unfolded itself this week back in history. 5th November 1605, Gunpowder Plot. Celebrated with fireworks as Guy Fawkes Day, this English holiday marks the anniversary of Gunpowder Plot, when Roman Catholics led by Robert Castilby tried to blow up Parliament, the king and his family on this day in 1605. 6th November 1860, Abraham Lincoln elected President of the United States. On this day in 1860, Americans elected their President Abraham Lincoln, whose victory led to the succession of southern states and the long and the bloody Civil War that lasted until 1865 and ended slavery in the United States. 7th November 2000, disputed US presidential elections. On this day in 2000, the US presidential elections ended in a statistical tie between Democrat Al Gore and Republican George W. Bush, only to be settled on December 12 by the US Supreme Court after a bitter legal dispute. 8th November 2013, Philippines struck by super typhoon Haiyan. On this day in 2013, the Philippines endured what may consider its worst natural disaster when the country was struck by a super typhoon Haiyan, one of the most powerful cyclones ever recorded to strike the land. 9th November 1989, opening of the Berlin Wall. Long a symbol of Cold War, the Berlin Wall, erected in 1961 and eventually extending 28 miles, that is 45 kilometers, to divide the western and the eastern sectors of Berlin, were opened by the East German government on this day in 1989. Tenth November 1871, Dr. David Livingstone found by Henry Stanley. On this day in 1871, according to his journal, explorer Henry Stanley greeted David Livingstone, the fellow explorer in search of source of the Nile River, with the famous words, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." November 1918, World War I ends. At 5 a.m. on this day in 1918, the Allied powers and the Germany signed an armistice document in the railway carriage in Ferdinand Foch, the commander of the Allied armies, and 6 hours later, World War I came to an end.
Well, that's all friends for this week's updates. See you soon next Sunday on the same channel. Till then, take care. Bye bye.